Union under the Ghana Road Transport Union (GPRTU) have confirmed the resumption of their services.
This follows a discussion at the presidency on Monday afternoon. Commuters in Accra and parts of the country woke up to the withdrawal of services by some commercial transport operators and were stranded at minibus terminals across the country. The drivers say their action was to express their displeasure with some taxes on fuel. It was therefore to pursue their demand for a reduction in fuel prices.
Most bus terminals were empty as stranded and frustrated passengers waited in vain. While many resorted to making their journey on foot, others engaged the services of motorbike riders. Those who could afford to use the services of Uber, Bolt or Yango. Commuters in areas such as La Paz, Ashaman, Medina, Ablekuma, among others, were most affected by the strike. Some workers shared their frustrations with JBC News.
From Sprinters to Accra, it has caused traffic jam because they are stopping all the truck drivers and the taxis on the way so that they shouldn't come into town.
Mostly when I'm coming to work, it takes me just about 1 hour to get here, but today it took me about 2.5 hours. There was no vehicle to pick anybody towards Accra, so we were all packed up to somewhere around 7:30 before we even had one car coming through, and even with that, you could see that we were all rushing for the vehicle, which was very bad.
From Circle to Accra, under normal circumstances, would cost 2 cedis, but in this context, I had to get 15 cedis to get Okada to bring me to Accra, which in any way or in any given day has more or less increased my expenses for today. And going back, possibly I have to explore that same means back to Circle where my office is. If this thing should continue, it is going to bring a lot of untold hardship to the public and then the ordinary Ghanaian.
The sit-down strike, directed by the Coalition of Commercial Transport Operators, is to back home demands for government to remove 5 taxes contained in the 2022 budget. The Price Stabilization and Recovery Levy, the Special Petroleum Tax, Energy Sector Levy, Energy Debt Recovery Levy, and the Sanitation and Pollution Levy from the pump price of petroleum products.
Correspondent Michael Deonu earlier spoke to the president of the Ashaiman Cooperative Union of the GPRTU, who says although media reports suggest they have suspended their strike, drivers in Ashaiman are still on strike until their leadership officially tells them to call it off.
We are fortunate to have the president of the Ashaiman Cooperative Union here, and he will explain to us some of their concerns. Good afternoon to you and welcome to GBC News.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so what is the situation?
Yeah, it's true. We are on sit-down strike this morning.
Okay. But the passengers are also complaining. People are traveling. People have businesses to do. Well, why are you on a sit-down strike? You've spoken to government. Government says he will take a look at your concerns.
Yeah, it's true. As I'm speaking to you, last week our big men have instructed us that we should put red band on our vehicles. We did that, and from there they have called us again and said this morning we should go on sit-down strike. This is why we are doing it today, this morning.
So what are the concerns?
The concern is about the increment of or the taxes that have been put on the fuel. That government should do something about the taxes for us, and the fuel should come down so that we can be able to buy the fuel and work.
Yeah. So how long are we going to engage in this sit-down strike?
Yeah, as I was speaking to you, our big men have called that they are joined with the government. So whatever be the case, they will communicate to us back. So we will lay by the close of the day. I hope that we'll hear something good news about that.
So if you don't hear any good news, it means that this continues till you hear good news.
But I'm sure with what I'm hearing, I'm sure that there will be a good news by the close of the day.
So we should look at it as it will only be a day's sit-down strike.
Yeah, it's only this day, from this morning to evening. I'm sure there will be a good news for us. Yeah.
Transport operators at the Wa municipality of the Upper West region also joined the strike. Our correspondent Swala Abdul Wahab reports that passengers at the lorry terminal were stranded, while operators of tricycles were on the streets preventing their colleagues from working.
When GBC News visited the load station this morning, many of the stations were not loading. Some of the passengers were also stranded. They spoke to GBC News about their frustrations.
Oh, we are still here because this morning when we got here, we realized that they were having some red band. When we inquired from the station managers, the information they are having a sit-down strike. Well, we have no any other option to wait a little and see.
If you Accra neba, I do have 9 o'clock. You go to Momo say, "Can we go strike?" Yes, we are trying. No man so I know. Yes, and kwa baby. It is unkoya yamfaso bi. It munja man unkoya befaso.
Operators of tricycles, popularly known as Yellow, were also not working. Their leader tells GBC News why they have joined the strike.
Of late, there is increment in fuel prices. It has gone up too much. And if you buy a fuel like say 40 cedis, you go around at the end of it, you cannot get anything to put for maintenance or something to keep yourself for the house keeping.
Those who have decided to work were stopped by their colleagues, but the police intervened and stopped the practice.
The Kambu riders and other associations are preventing cars from moving. So they are blocked traffic, affecting the free flow of what? Vehicles. And as our duty, we have to come in to ensure that vehicles are able to move freely, although they are on strike.
At the GIP station, however, business was as usual.
Yeah, we are working because we did not get any information from anybody. There's no any association who contact us or invite us to discuss anything about strike issue. So that is why we are operating. We normally take instruction from our stakeholders. Well, we have a stakeholder who give us instruction. So whatever thing happen, they have to sit and negotiate and dialogue with things. Whatever they come out, they give it information. So we use that information to do our job here.
It is too early for now to determine the impact of the strike. What I can say is that some passengers are unable to reach their destinations, and it is their wish that the impasse is addressed as quickly as possible so that they can resume their normal movement and businesses. For GBC News, Swala Abdul Wahab.
Still in news, the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council has dismissed media reports of a statement by Mr. David Agbuadu of the concerned drivers' union purported to have been made by the Deputy Minister for Transport, Mr. Hassan Tampuli, at a meeting held at the instance of the leadership of transport operators at the TUC Hall in Accra. The council describes it as a malicious act and is asking the public to disregard it. In a statement by the council, signed by its General Secretary, Mr. Emmanuel Hini Yabua, the council explains the Deputy Minister was invited to the said meeting, which was attended by some coalition members of the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council and other transport unions. According to the statement, the Deputy Minister at the meeting explained the various taxes on the petroleum price build-up, but never made any statement as being speculated by Mr. David Agbuadu. The council further says it will not allow anyone to use it to pursue any personal agenda other than the growth of the industry and disassociates itself from the said statement. The Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council says Mr. Agbuadu should be held responsible for his actions.
Oil prices at some pumps since December 1, 2021 have dropped marginally from 6.9 per litre to an average of 6.80 per litre, representing 1.4% decrement, with a few still going some 10 to 15 pesos down. Fuel pricing in Ghana is deregulated, meaning prices at the international market have direct impact on prices locally. Last week, the price of Brent crude fell from $2.87 or 3.9% to settle at $70.57 a barrel after hitting an intraday low of $70.22, the lowest since August. Some experts have projected a further decline in global oil prices in the coming weeks, with many more countries detecting the Omicron variant of the coronavirus, which the experts say has led to a decline in demand for petroleum products amid increase in supply. The Institute for Energy Security had earlier projected that fuel prices will drop between 3 to 5% at the local pumps due to a sharp decline in the price of Brent crude late November.
Banjul, the capital of the smiling coast of Africa, the Gambia is calm and peaceful, with citizens going about their normal duties after the first Jammeh democratically presidential elections, though 3 out of the 6 presidential candidates who contested the December 4, 2021 polls have expressed reservations about the elections. International observers, including ECOWAS, AU, and the EU, say the elections were free and fair. So far, the 3 candidates, Usanu Darboy, Maman Kande, and Issa Fall, have not been able to point what the irregularities are, but cited delays in announcing the certified results as a cause for concern. The West African Elders Forum, led by the former president of Nigeria, Mr. Goodluck Jonathan, is engaging the parties involved in the elections to ensure the peace of the Gambia is not threatened.
Commercial activities in the capital of Gambia, Banjul, have returned to normal. The major 3 opposition parties have rejected the results, saying the Independent Electoral Commission delayed in releasing the results. But apart from this concern, they've not been able to come up with any reason why they are not accepting the results for now. But more importantly, all the international observer missions that were deployed to the Gambia, that is made up of the ECOWAS, African Union, ASA, and the Commonwealth, they've all indicated by a statement issued this morning that the elections were free and fair, transparent, and credible. And they've lauded Gambians for the way they comported themselves before, during, and after the elections. At the moment, there has not been any incident of violence in any part of the country. Life is getting back to normal. The incumbent, President Adama Barrow, won by 53% out of the 947,848 votes that were cast on Saturday, December 4, 2021. At the moment, it's all set for the incumbent to be sworn in at a later date yet to be made known. But the Electoral Commission calendar shows that in April 2022, the National Assembly or Legislative Assembly elections will also be conducted in the Gambia. This is the first elections after the exit or the defeat of former President Yahya Jammeh, who ruled the Gambia for 22 years. Gambia go to the polls on December 4 by using marbles, and which is unique to the Gambia. And we are told this type of electoral system started in the 1960 when it got independent, and it's been like that. So you go to the the booth, and you are given a marble. Each candidate has a drum that represents them with their party colors, and then the voters are asked to go and drop the marble in the preferred candidate's drum. Afterwards, it is sieved and then it's counted. And that is how the electoral system of Gambia is. It's different from other parts of Africa, including Ghana, where we use ballot papers. To the ECOWAS mission head, that is the former president of Sierra Leone, President Ernest Bai Koroma, he applauded the Gambians for being able to come up with this innovative system to ensure that there are no spoiled ballot papers or rejected ballot papers. And he even indicated that ECOWAS should conduct a study to find how these can be replicated in other parts of Africa. For GBC News, Edward Nyako reporting.
Incumbent President Adama Barrow has won Gambia's presidential election by 53.2%. 3 out of the 5 opposition parties challenged the results, but one of them has now conceded defeat. A Gambian journalist, Mr. Ibrahim Jallo, earlier said thousands of President Barrow's supporters converged on Banjul for a victory celebration.
Today we've seen one of them, which is independent candidate Esame Fall, withdrawing from that move and now concede defeat. So for now we have only 2 opposition parties who are yet to concede defeat, which is Honorable Usainu Dabo, who is the leader of the main opposition party, UDP, and then Mama Kande of the Gambia Democratic Congress. So as we speak, the observer missions in the country, that is the international observer missions, ECOWAS, EU, and African Union, and other domestic observers have all, described the election as free, fair, and transparent, and that the results are acceptable. So as we speak today, at the moment, you have thousands of people coming from different parts of the country heading to the capital city, Banjul, a mega celebration of the victory with the President Adama Barrow. So that is the current situation. We are expecting to hear something from the 2 oppositions who are yet to concede defeat. To do so, because according to the suggestions from experts and analysts, and also the observer missions, there is nothing to complain about, because this is said to be one of the most transparent and most fair elections conducted in the country since independence.
Still in Gambia, the ECOWAS, Commonwealth and EISA observers who monitored the Gambian elections have lauded the country for a peaceful conduct. They suggested some recommendations for an improved election in future.
The IEC should continue to communicate developments regarding electoral process to the general public and promptly share information in order to discourage misinformation through social media and other means. The capacity of the Independent Electoral Commission should be reinforced by establishing a legal unit and the appointment of communication and database management experts.
We urge further dialogue to ensure that all Gambians are able to reflect thoroughly on this, as well as other areas within the context of the unimplemented reforms that will need to be addressed in the next electoral cycle. As the withdrawal process has now concluded, we hope that the peaceful atmosphere that has prevailed thus far throughout the electoral process will continue.
The Electoral Commission and other stakeholders consulted by ASA noted that the voting system in Gambia has the advantages of low cost and simplicity, both for understanding how to vote and counting has extremely low chances of small ballots. This system of voting is uniquely Gambian, and ASA observers reported that voters exhibited a high level of confidence in the system and its operation on election day. However, the mission notes that such a system might face challenges in the event of a large number of candidates, as provided for under the multi-party structure outlined in Gambia's legal framework.
Still news are live on GTV and GBC News. 21 probation officers from the Greater Accra region have received 3 days training on a manual developed by the Gender Ministry to serve as a new policy guide to protect accused and convicted juvenile offenders and children in general. It was an instruction period which focused on latest ways in handling juveniles who find themselves in trouble with the law.
Over the years, Ghana has made significant inroads in creating systems and structures to help with the implementation of children's rights to improve their welfare. It has also done quite a bit of work in the area of child protection through various legislative framework such as the Children's Act 1998, Act 560, the Juvenile Justice Act 2003, Act 653, the Justice for Children Policy 2016, and others. All of the above legislations and other policies are pointers to the important work of probation officers whose job it is to supervise, protect and assess juvenile offenders and children.
Our intention as Ghana YMCA is to be able to offer coping strategies to these young people and build capacities of also other state actors and non-state actors as well.
Currently, the 1997 manual guiding probation officers in performing their duties is outmoded and does not include any of the child rights incorporated in the various legislations and policies mentioned above.
This is a big breakthrough for the Department of Social Welfare. For some time, we have never been able to bring probation officers together, but this is the beginning of many more engagements.
The training was aimed at equipping participating officers with efficient knowledge on how to incorporate the new manual in the delivery of their work.
We thought it worthwhile that young people who are at fault with the law usually will need the support of these probation officers. And sometimes, depending on the changes in the laws, the probation officers are not able to give the appropriate support to these young ones.
Participating officers came from Adawes, Ashaiman, Gawes, Lagma, Lekma, Shayo Sudoku and Wejagbawe for the 3-day training program.
In the final month of the year and with the festive season approaching, motorists, passengers and other road users are being reminded to be extra cautious, especially on the road. In Accra, the launch has taken place of Metri A Mincha, a road safety campaign targeting 1,000 commercial drivers in the major lorry stations in the Greater Accra region. It is an effort to draw in attention to the need to reduce the incidence of drunk driving.
Road traffic injuries and deaths remain one of the growing public health problems in Ghana. Statistics from the Motor Traffic and Transport Department, MTTD, of the Ghana Police Service show that from January to September 2021, 2,126 commuters were killed in road traffic crashes. Causes of these road accidents include drunk driving, the major factor among commercial drivers, overtaking, overspeeding, jumping red lights, among others. With Christmas approaching, a sensitization program dubbed Metria Mincha, meaning if I'll drive, I will not drink, has been organized for commercial drivers at the Newplant station to minimize road accidents before, during and after Christmas.
I just want a lot of the drivers here to picture that for a moment. You guys are breadwinners in your houses as well. That's why you drive, right? So have a think about what will happen to your families if something happens to you.
The campaign is also to promote the SDG Goal 3, which is to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. The Regional Commanding Officer of the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service, DCOP Martin Eyi, advised the drivers.
We really started going to lorry parks to educate them. But quite apart from the education, we are also going to be on the road to arrest recalcitrant, especially the drink and drive drivers. We have breathalyzers that we are going to use to detect those who are drunk and they are driving. And those who are even going beyond the posted speed limit, we have a device for getting them, and be rest assured, those who will get doing those things will be prosecuted.
The program was organized by Street Sense, a road safety advocate, in collaboration with Pernod Ricard Ghana, a wine producing company, the Ghana Police MTTG, and the National Road Safety Authority.
You're still live on GBC News, your news and governance channel. We take a break. When we come back, we'll do some business. Please stay.
From 1921 to 2021,
Hello, good evening and welcome. Time now for the business segment, proudly brought to you by MTN and Whirlpool. I am Dorothy Achimai. The Minister for Finance and Economic Planning, Mr. Ken Oforiatta, has presented details of government's modifications of sections of the 2022 budget to the Speaker of Parliament, Mr. Alban Bagbin, as requested by the minority in Parliament. Specifically, the government has revised paragraphs 442 and 443 of the Ejapa Agreement by taking out references to mineral royalties collateralization. Also, an allocation of 10 million cedis has been captured in the revised budget to resolve issues surrounding the Keta and other coastal lines across the country. The finance minister said other policies, including the e-levy use start initiative, removal of road toll levies, and the revision of the 50% benchmark values are still valid but will be subjected to a broader stakeholder review and consultation. He is also hopeful that Parliament will pass the appropriation bill before the year ends.
With regards to Ejapa Royalties Limited, we shall amend paragraphs 442 and 443 to take out reference to mineral royalties collateralization. It's important to note that any reference to Ejapa was for information purpose and as such was not reflected in the fiscal framework of the budget. On the benchmark values, we shall avert any hardship to importers and consumers while safeguarding the interests of local manufacturing industries to secure and expand jobs for our people. The administrative exercise, which review 43 out of 81 line items, has the objective to promote local manufacturing and the 1D1F policy, including the assembling of vehicles. It is important to note that this adjustment affects only 11.4% of the total CIF value of imports, of which 50% is for vehicles. We will work with the relevant committees of Parliament to reflect these modifications in the 2022 budget, as is the usual practice before the appropriation bill is passed. Any other concerns which will emerge shall be addressed during the discussions of the estimates by the committee, as has been the tradition. On the matter of the e-levy, the elephant in the room, having regard to its serious fiscal implications, we'll continue our consultations with the Minority Caucus in Parliament and other relevant stakeholders with a view to achieving consensus and reverting to the House in the shortest possible time.
Away from that story, the Ghana Rural Bank has recorded an impressive performance in 2020 despite the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the Ghanaian economy. The bank's net profit grew by 32.5% to 240,000 cedis. This was announced at the bank's annual general meeting here in Accra.
The increase in the bank's net surplus was driven by a surge in net interest income and commissions and fees. Total assets also increased from 52.9 million cedis in 2019 to 70.8 million cedis in 2020. This was on the back of a 34.5% increase in customer deposits. The bank ended the year with a stated capital of 2.2 million cedis, far above the Bank of Ghana's minimum capital requirement of 1 million cedis. In spite of the impressive performance, the bank's board of directors recommended no dividend to shareholders for the year. The decision is in compliance with the central bank's directive to banks and special deposit-taking institutions not to pay dividend for 2019 and 2020 financial years.
In spite of the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic and increased competitiveness in the industry, your bank performed reasonably well for the year under review. We were able to leverage on a strong local brand and the loyalty of the valued customers to improve on our profitability. I am delighted to announce that our balance sheet remains robust, liquid, well capitalized and solvent.
As part of its corporate social responsibility, the bank spent 28,300 cedis In the areas of health, education, security and agriculture, the annual general meeting saw the unveiling of the bank's new board chairman.
What I'm currently bringing on board is that because I am technology biased, I want to leverage on technology to move the bank forward. The time of bricks and mortar is over. Now is the time for technology.
For the 2022 outlook, the Ghana Rural Bank says it is poised to leverage its flagship eSusu product and mobile banking app known as Ghana Connect to improve customer experience and deposit base.
On the bank markets, the cedi is trading at 5 cedis 92 pesos to the US dollar and to the pound sterling at 7 cedis 88 pesos and the euro at 6 cedis 71 pesos. Next are the figures and also the prices of gold, cocoa and light good from the commodity board.
We are live on News Hour. Welcome to the energy segment. I'm Dominic Noji. Minister for Finance, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, says the government has agreed to amend parts of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation GNPC Aker energy deal in the 2022 budget. He announced this at a meeting in Accra.
Relating to the Aker energy transaction, we shall amend paragraphs 8 to 9 of the 2022 budget on the acquisition of a stake from Aker Energy and AGM Petroleum by GNPC to reflect the resolution of Parliament dated 6 July 2021 that the terms and conditions of the loan for the acquisition of the shares shall be brought to Parliament for consideration pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution.
The Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, Mr. Duncan Amoah, says government's revenue will not be greatly affected if it responds to the demands of transport owners by taking off some taxes on fuel price build-up. He said based on the Chamber's calculation, if government takes off all the taxes that the commercial transport operators are asking government to remove, it will lose about 800 million Ghana cedis. This, he said, is not completely lost since it will cushion consumers. According to Mr. Amoah, the calls by the drivers is necessary, adding that if government responds to the call, the cost of goods and services will stabilize. He called for the suspension of some of the taxes momentarily for about 3 months. The taxes and levies on the petroleum products include energy debt recovery levy, road fund levy, energy fund levy, sanitation and pollution levy, energy sector recovery levy, special petroleum tax and primary distribution margin. Ghana's overall hydro, thermal and solar generation was 61.6453 gigawatt hours in the last 24 hours. 4.4982 gigawatt hours of power was exported to neighboring countries within the period. Here are some more details.
For hydro energy generated in the past 24 hours, Akosombo recorded 16.6770 gigawatt hours, Bon 2.9200 gigawatt hours, and Bri 4.8666 gigawatt hours. Here's what functional thermal power producers contributed to the generation mix within the period. The 3 hydro power plants produced 24.4636 gigawatt hours. Operational thermal power plants contributed 36.9644 gigawatt hours and total.
The health segment of the news is brought to you by Lufat. A fundraising ceremony for the completion of a home for the aged in the northern sector of the country has taken place at Kumasi in the Ashanti region. The 5 billion CD 18-bedroom one-story project is being financed by the St. Theresa of the Child Jesus Society and at the St. Peter's Cathedral Basilica. The society has already invested over 2 billion cedis in the project for the ground floor, which constitutes the first phase. The home will be made up of bedrooms, a worship center, dining, and a clinic. At the fundraising harvest, the chaplain and the spiritual director at the St. Theresa Archdiocese in Kumasi, Reverend Father Henry Mensah, stressed the need for voluntary contributions to help complete the project on schedule.
When people grow old, sometimes you need special skill to take care of them. This is what this home seeks to do. It has a lot of rooms. We intend bringing doctors and nurses who will be taking care of our old parents who may be lacking such care in the home, so that at any point in time, when we realize that the person is old and we don't have people who will be there ready to be assisting, the person can be brought here.
The president of the St. Teresa of the Child Jesus Society, Opening Elizabeth Mensah, praised the Vicar General, Reverend Father Douglas Peters, for donating the land free of charge for the project. She said the home, when completed, will provide solace for the aged.
Ghana hayemrewano se omom yina ani nkokora nyina ne omo aya ahomte amaye nti epese ebo omo no na omo ba wiase na omo nigi ansa na omo akọ.
That's all in the health segment, brought to you by Lufert. The international is next.